We're here at Riverside Orchard. Yeah, this orchard here is a 22 hectare orchard. Consists of 17 hectares of green and 5 hectares of gold kiwi fruit. We also have another 14 hectares out at Tuapero Strait. That consists of 2.2 of gold, about 9 of green and 2.75 of organics. That's what I look after. I work for the Trabalco brothers, Neil Trabalco and John Trabalco. I've been doing kiwi fruit for 19 years. I was a horticultural cadet when there was a cadet scheme a while back before the 1980s when kiwi fruit went bust. I was a kiwi fruit cadet back then. Kiwi fruit went bust, so I went and worked for Core Gold mining company for 4 years and ended up coming up here and working for John and Neil, which was a great move. We are getting tops in the orchard gate returns for our organics, for size and for quality. We're up around that 9,500 trays a hectare on our organics, and yeah, it's a real pleasure to do. We want to make more of our orchard organic. It's working out, it's what's making us money at the moment. You're very limited to what you can put on fertiliser wise and spray wise. Our fertiliser is done by Philip Barlow Soil and Crop, and yeah, he comes in, takes a soil sample, and then in November does a leaf sample, and if we need anything he applies for restricted input and we can put those inputs on. We do a few foliar feeds to keep it up and running. We do trunk girdling, which levels our flower numbers out and manages to keep us at a high level of flowers. The guys that are doing the pruning for me have pruned for me for years now and are extremely experienced and take great pride in what they do. So I let those guys do my organics, and we do it every year with the same people. The soil and nutrient management plan, we put Revital compost. It's a 50-50 mix of compost and chook manure on. We put a good dose of that on in the winter, and from then we really do the soil samples and the leaf samples, and we adjust what we can to keep the crop at its optimum. Yeah, we have a significant problem with wind here. It's a very windy site. Down in our river flats, we're trying to grow 12 hectares of the 22 in riverbed. That's what it used to be. It's very hard growing. It's very hard to get your kiwi fruit growing. Also, the wind takes the trees out, and knocking trees out and they're dying back. A lot of trees don't like growing down there. It seems to be almost, the conditions aren't very well. Poplars do very well down there, so we're integrating poplars in with the other lines of shelter to try and establish a shelter belt back again. We spray all our banks for the gorse and that, and we spray along the riverbank along the bottom down there, trying to keep it all away. Really, if you let the gorse get up and that, you're going to get a lot of predators and pests and that coming into your orchard. So we try and keep a bit of a boundary and try and keep that back. So we spray all around the bottom of the river down there, which is keeping it quite clear. The guys that developed it before us actually developed 2 ponds down in here and put in natives like rahu and that sort of thing, and the reeds and that down there in the pond. We keep that clear, we mow around it, we keep the edges sprayed. I try and keep a flow of water because that stuff can take over your ponds. So I try and keep a flow of water going through there by using a spraying program, a spray that's acceptable to be used on top of water. We have ducks down here that breed on our pond, and they come up here and I feed them dog biscuits and that in the mornings and that. I've got 12 that come up every morning. The wildlife, the pheasants, the quail, and also the duck life has excelled since I've been here. I have 2 permanents that work with me on our 35 hectares, 2 local family men that come out here and work on the orchards. Also the group of Indians that I use to do a lot of my work are sourced locally from the local community. When we do, we process our pollen ourselves and reapply it onto the kiwi fruit. We pick the male pollen and dry it in our cabinets. I use tourists. We've got one of my contractors goes on the internet and puts out feelers for tourists, and we get quite colourful tourists coming in here, and they help us reapply the pollen back on. We have safety manuals. We've got orchard health safety practices. The orchard is fully global GLAP compliant, and a lot of that health and safety is amongst that. Maintenance is something that I don't mind spending money on because I want good gear, because I want a good job done. Last season was an extremely good season. We did over 200,000 trays here at Riverside. which was great. It was a real increase in production. I pumped water out of the Ongatiri stream into a 1.8 million litre pond that we built, and out of that pond, a PTO driven system. First of all, it was put in for frost protection. We've got 13 hectares here of frost protection, 13 and a half. Out of that, I also use that, I double that and use that as irrigation as well. So when it gets dry, I'm not just pumping water on as I feel, I'm doing it in a very scientific approach. I've got these guys in doing the readings once a week, and I religiously follow that. With the frost protection now, and the irrigation and general plant health, I'm very proactive on plant health. We've managed to turn the river flats around from being a suspect area into a very productive area. Very healthy, very productive, all with the use of water.